Welcome to Boosted, a Mobile Legends podcast. I'm Private Dancer.
I'm Trex.
I'm G the Kaya.
Was I supposed to say something after that?
I don't know. Should we? I feel like
I think that was
should. Maybe we should.
And we're talking about Mobile Legends. Zoom in because there's so much life in NA right now compared to ever that I feel like well, honestly, I wasn't here the entire time. I've been here since when Masha came out. It was like maybe a little over 3 years ago. And so I wasn't here for the whole of how Mobile Legends has been, but since I've been in this game, I feel like it's bigger than it's ever been as far as teams wanting to compete, the amount of scrims happening on a daily and weekly basis for teams trying to improve. Maybe not as many quote unquote content creators like littering everywhere in NA, but I feel like the actual scene and people who are interested in having teams is just ridiculously large right now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely. I mean, I think the beginning of this year really. Once I said it last time or like a first episode. Whenever there was like a point where a lot of players were leaving, and then once more tournaments started happening, like there was your solid core, probably like 8 teams, like 8 solid teams, and even they were kind of iffy. And then like probably about 6 months in, you saw a lot of players come back, a lot of new teams start springing up, like, you know, Ad Meliora, XVA, some of these like newer teams that are trying to brand themselves, things like that, who are like, new teams are being built, is what I'm saying. Like new teams, there's players who are like, oh, I want to make a team. I want to start competing in these tournaments. I want to start doing things. So now it's just been definitely really expanding. I mean, there's a lot of team, as I'm like looking at that NACT list, there's a lot of team names that I like see and I recognize, and it's not just like a bunch of random names anymore. You know, yes, I don't like see them in the NASL or other big things, but these teams were in the last NACT. You know, some of these teams I've like heard the name on Discord. I've heard little things like that. Some of the player names, things like that. So there's definitely just been a huge upsurge, I feel like, and I think it's only going to continue to grow.
Well, I've already, just with this small amount of time that I've been here, I've already started seeing a lot of the same names over and over again. The NASL has that, I don't want to call it a problem, but it's a very large commitment of time that not a lot of people have. So like you're going to be hard pressed to get a lot of those same names in there. However, on the other side of that, I mean, there's a reason why those teams that are in the NASL usually place pretty high in the challenger tournaments, because that same commitment translates over into a well put together team.
And I think you said it best, right, Private? Like the amount of scrims, like personally myself, like I get held up by like 7 to 10 people daily. Like I need to start creating like a scheduling book, like a calendar, and I'm like, Joe, just go put it in there. I'll look at the calendar and see if I can fit you in, right?
it's G crazy. The Scrim Master Akayo here.
It's crazy, dude.
So speaking of teams, we do have the official roster signed up for the Myths, the Legends, Team Gosu. Do we? They are fully. They're fully signed. The team says it's fully signed up, fully rostered up. They have General, Fleur, Regrets, Zero, JC, who is Yuzi, and Yue. Now, my thing about this is like, we know General's either gold lane or jungle, right? Like, I don't see him being anywhere else. Most likely jungle. Yue, I want to say Yue plays. Is Yue the tank? I'm trying to figure out who the tank is. I can't remember. I know I've been seeing Yue streams or something. Like, we know Fleur's mage. We know Yuzi's gold lane. I'm pretty sure Yuzi can swap to the other off lane because, like, whenever he played in NASL, we saw that. Zero also, like, I'm iffy about where exactly they're going to fit him. But yeah, we officially have the full roster lineup from them. So
that's interesting.
Now, like Fleur's been competing.
I owe you $1.
I owe you
I
$1.
didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen.
Now, whether they show up or not, I don't know, but the registration is
don't
there.
say that.
The full lineup is there. And like the reason why I think it's serious is because like Fleur's on it. And Fleur, like we know Fleur's played for Deuce Knights before. JC, like those are normally players that like play on other teams because Gosu never joins the NACTs. Those are normally like Yuzi and Fleur and Regrets normally always like join some team before the NACT. But the fact that they're on the lineup for Gosu means I'm pretty sure this is a serious roster.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Like, you know, as you were saying, like we've seen a lot, a few of those. Like one of them, like you were saying, is a streamer, right? Yue. Yeah, Yue. I forgot what squad he was in the last NACT, but I seen him, and if I'm not mistaken, I might have ended up like casting for that actual game. And it's going to be crazy, you know, seeing that, like seeing some content creators actually joining Gosu, and then actually seeing General, you know, like seeing him in there. And we know confirmed already, Gosu Zero is actually going to be in Las Vegas. So I feel like maybe that might be like just like the hot seat that caused them to go for this, you know, because that's a big iconic team, you could say.
Definitely an iconic team.
Not even.
But I'm just wondering how they're actually gonna like compete. Like how do we?
How
do we think they're gonna do?
I think Private said that the best. I feel like Private said it the best earlier.
What's that about the Gosu?
I think you said it in our chat.
That was off cam.
Oh,
yeah.
You
well, just
the best. No, well, I mean, Gosu
don't hold back now.
No. Well, I've said it before. I came in to Mobile Legends about the time that Gosu went to M1, and they kind of had they didn't have the best roster for themselves because too many people couldn't even compete. For whatever reason, they couldn't travel to Worlds, and I don't want to use the word disappointment, but I mean, I'm glad to see them actually working on a team instead of just existing as a team, especially as North America is going to start coming up. According to Dave, there's going to be a lot more coming after M4, which I think is going to be a great shining point and opportunity for a lot of these teams, especially Gosu, if they're going to take it seriously. Like I said, my big thing is, they've got the star power. Gosu definitely. They've got a lot of skill on there too, but is some of that star power and that streaming and that type of name brand going to get in the way of them actually putting in the work it's going to take to get better? Because
like, I mean, a little bit too overconfident, right?
Well, not really overconfident, but I mean, General's grown. He's got a job. He streams like he streams a lot. I mean, it's. Well, so does Zane too, but I'm not sure if they all have that one. I know nothing about them, honestly. To be honest, I know nothing about how they work. They haven't been in the light as much as BTK and every little bit of drama. And if fucking Zane sneezes, like there's 17 Twitter posts and clippers that are there to let us know every different
Zane
angle.
sneezed on live stream.
Cardi is upset about this sneeze. It caused Chicken and Shark to go at it.
I think one thing we can say, like, of course, like, we don't really know what's going on in the heads of all of them. One thing we can say, I think, the fact that Gosu is competing in this, and they're known to not really compete. Like, the past year, we've only seen them in, like, one NACT as Gosu, right? So, I mean, the fact that they are competing means they are taking it seriously in a sense, right? Like they want to compete. Maybe they don't think maybe they don't know if they'll get first place or not, but they do want to compete. I think the most important thing for them, like is that like during the qualifier stage and before they get, like if they want to make it to top 16, let's just say, like, and I'm sure like everyone just thinks like, oh, Gosu's got a guaranteed top 16, right? I think they need to be careful and take it serious all the way through, because as we've seen from past NACs, there's a lot of those teams that, like, if you slip, they will capitalize on that. Like we saw with BTK, and like they might get paired up against one of these teams that's new, rookies, kind of hungry, kind of wants it, and I think Team Gosu does have a very high skill level. This whole lineup, like you have Fleur, who's been competing regularly, Yuzi, who's been competing regularly. You do have some veterans over the past year, and I don't mean veteran as in like total time, but just the veterans of the year, right? So I mean, they do have that there. The thing is like if they make some mistakes early on, it could definitely be bad. Like I want to say like, oh yeah, we'll see them on the live stream. But there's like still that slight hint in the back of my mind, like, oh, I don't know. It's possible that they could get knocked out at some point by some team, you know?
There's even the kind of like right now the tournament organizers, E-Stars, they don't really have a grasp on NA scene, what teams are good, what teams aren't. They're probably going to be banking a little bit on Dave, who, I mean, to be honest, is just starting to get caught up with Mobile Legends now too. So we might potentially see an upset, and they definitely need to be careful because, like I said, like what was the biggest I don't want to say disappointment, but the kind of odd matchup in the top 16 was New Wave versus Area 77, and like it was something that people wanted to see maybe a little later, maybe even the best thing for maybe even the best thing for Area 77 because they got beat out early and it kind of showed them and showed the fragility of it, if you will, of that team, and they kind of reorganized a bit as well. I mean, dude, if you think about what has been leading up to this, imagine BTK had been successful in the top 16, maybe got beaten a little bit later, or even won it. We wouldn't have what we have right now potentially, which is a lot of these all-stars kind of coming together on the Valley, which is really amazing to me because, like, I don't know. I don't want to make this about singing about the Valley because I mean I
think you could make
I
it
still want to see them
about BTK though. You know, like you could kind of contour to like you were saying. You know, like BTK, like that upset, like kind of put a flame under the United, like NA in general. You know, like oh shit, you know, BTK is not just immortal.
I was saying this from the beginning of last NACT was the best thing that could happen to NA is BTK gets beaten early, and that happened, and it's happened right now, which is right now. Well, Zane, I feel like Zane's always at 110% try hard. 100%. But I feel like some of those the members on that team kind of got a little bit of a wake up call about that you can't really just kind of herp derp your way through NA anymore. And I think Gosu hopefully does not herp derp. Look it up. All right. Nope. But I think Gosu might get a little bit of a wake up call when it comes to that. I mean, honestly, they're good for business, regardless of how well they do, how well they don't do. I just don't want it to turn into this dirty freaking almost like, I mean,
that's exactly what I want.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if people realize it, but it's possible to be a fan of a team without hating another team. You know,
what are you talking about, bro?
People cannot like Zane right now without hating Zia for some reason. The dude was fine 3 minutes ago, but now they're like, burn him.
Yeah. The Zia hate was definitely overwhelming after their game in the NASL. That was like, wow, guys, like seriously. And then literally the next day, Zia and Ackerman, what do they beat Deuce Knights? And all the fans are back out. They're like, yay, go Zia!
Zia! Dude, bronze is one time and like it's the end of the world, but then golds and all the fanboys come back.
Yeah, we thought there was rough pressure on us as casters. Imagine getting a bronze in a tournament.
The moment Zane went top 16, bro, it was the most hilarious. I didn't think he was going to stream that afternoon, but he did. And just the comments, I'm just like, bro, I couldn't imagine that type of stress of but I mean, like I said, like most people don't even pay attention to that. If you're at that, especially Zane, who's been playing at this for years in pro scene of different games, I'm pretty sure a lot of that stuff kind of just like whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of hilarious to me though, how the community responds to that. It's almost like watching like professional wrestling, how much that they can just like kind of bait crowds into this type of like booing them or something like that.
So there's also some other spicy teams that have joined. Ooh. Something I think important to point out. So we have Aether Explicit is coming back in.
Yeah, but not
exactly. So listen, Aether Explicit is coming back in, but then none of the players from last NACT or stuff like that are part of it. You have BocaRoscoe, Templest, Sushi, and all the ex-Aether Explicit players now on a team called Bloodhounds, which is BocaRoscoe, Templest, Sushi. I found Easy Peasy's going to be on it from Deuce Knight, really? So he's joining Bloodhounds, and then you have Blink and Dim Sum, which like Blink, Sushi, Templest, all ex-Aether Explicit players. BocaRoscoe also he played for Aether Explicit for a short time, but they've officially been on this team. And then when you look at Aether Explicit, I don't even know like any of the members on the team. Honestly, I think I recognize like one or two of them. They have a new logo.
Honestly, I even if they change it around the entire roster, I'm glad that they keep the name. That's something I don't like when people like BocaRoscoe. You're not fooling anybody. We know the kingdom, the record. Like, I mean, I mean, you know, I would love it to have stayed with the kingdom. I love coming up underdog stories. Are people like showing how they've come up and not afraid of that. You're not afraid to take that loss and be like, all right, we're going to come back better. It
builds a better story.
It does, and I don't, and like Area 77, I'm still bitter about that. Like that they decided to just disband instead of creating it. I mean, which is just, I get it. Okay, I mean, it's interesting. I'm sure there's stuff going on in the background. I mean, I know nothing about BocaRoscoe, the name, or what's going on with that, or with Aether Explicit. So I'm basically speaking out my butt. But as a personal storyteller or wanting to watch the scene, I love teams kind of having that longevity in it instead of just changing your name every single time you take a loss to kind of start over. It's like just go with it and kind of and build on that to kind of have some type of consistency in it. And but I am excited to see them. BocaRoscoe, I feel like as far as streamers go, he's a very, very good mage that sometimes like I've seen him play Farja. I've seen I think it was the first NASL that I cast for. I think I don't know if it was, I think it was the first one I watched when I found out about the NSL, and I'd seen him on it, and he's really great with his rotations, with his placement and stuff like that. He's just been having trouble when it comes to finding that team. And it's what a lot of players find out. It's like those people who eat good food and love good food and think that they can own a restaurant. It's a lot more that goes into it than just being good. And a lot of these teams are starting to find out, and hopefully with his experience, not just him, Riles, and even freaking who else is coming back? Foreign famous Dave's Dustin. Dustin.
Ooh. Yeah, he's got a roster
blowing
together,
the dust off.
Yeah, is Dave in it though?
No, Dave's not in it. I think that's a conflict of interest.
I did see another team, which kind of like I was like, what? Like, you know, like why is this even like? Is this even going to be allowed? There's a team on there called Lost Valley.
Lost Valley, yeah. What is that?
I was like, what do you mean? Like, you're telling me you're the Mexican, the Valley? Like, what do you mean? Like you literally just changed the to Los, which is like
I know any of
like
them
it's
either.
Literally the in Spanish.
They kind of got a cool logo though. Let's be real.
I mean, but like, come on now.
I feel like Fuji looks familiar. The name Fuji. I don't know any of the other players.
Let's just hope it's not because have they done the checks yet for these teams?
Mm-mm.
I don't know.
Yeah, because I have a feeling
I think it's going to be soon.
You just put an arrow on your head like our team is all from Mexico. Don't.
Basically, what do you mean? Lost Valley makes us suspicious.
I'm just saying, you know, like I'm pretty sure that's borderline copyright infringement, you know.
Well, the Valley, isn't that actually Basic's brother owns a shoe shop in California?
Yeah, shoe shop, yeah. Shoe shop.
So like that's actually like trademarked by them.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, but it's a different logo and it's Lost Valley. So, and I don't know if the name. I don't know if the name.
You see yourself arguing that in court. Like
yeah,
you're saying, obviously it's a different logo and it's called Lost Valley, not the Valley.
Exactly. We did not steal this idea at all.
Yeah, that's completely unique. There's a lot, dude. I
like some of these logos.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Just the teams in general look a bit more branded and better as I'm like skimming through everything. And it's slowly become that. Like every NACT, like every team's stepping up their game a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. We went from like self-drawn portraits to actual, $5 fiver buys and things like that, so we're upgrading. We're not like at full blown branding. I don't expect any of these teams to go pay a couple $100s for a logo, you know what I'm saying? But but you can see like the small things. The names are even better. Of course we still have like BBQ Toshi and that kind of stuff. But the Yorkies. I actually know the Yorkies. So the Yorkies is actually this player, the captain, I want to say, is this guy called Dice D or something. He actually messaged me not too long ago asking, he's like, hey, how do I know if my team got accepted or whatever? But yeah, he used to run one of the big Facebook pages for Mobile Legends. He was like one of the mods on like the North America, like for like like the groups or whatever. That's how I met him when I used to stream on there. But I actually kind of want his team to get to top 16 because I know him and I know they've been competing. Pretty cool. They've been competing for a while. They just keep changing the name, as we said.
Yeah. Oh man, it's been
Ackerman's picking up Ureshi.
Ooh.
From MPL.
Okay.
He was a player for NXP.
Okay. Interesting.
So he's on their roster. So they have they also have Guapo from the Valley, Tarzan, who is Guapo, on their roster officially for the NACT. So it's Zia, Shen, Gals Cutie, Ureshi, Tarzan, Mark Cutie. So they dropped Yato because he's not old enough to go to M4. He's only like 15. Really? Yeah, so they picked up Shen instead. So I'm pretty sure that's who. I'm pretty sure this is the lineup we're going to see tomorrow. I'm pretty sure when they go up against the Valley. I'm
excited. I know I say that with I'm excited, but like I really am because this is turning out to be a very, very big event. Just with the star power alone, like people coming out of the woodwork that we haven't seen in NA for a while. Gosu coming back. They even want to compete in this thing. Foreign Famous is going to be in there. Riles has his own squad. Like it is just a huge thing right now. For NA, because it's being seen as how big it's going to be. It's going to be a live event in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
this is huge. Not a shopping mall. I'm gonna throw that little shot out there in Vegas.
You want a shopping mall?
No, there's another game that their lives.
I mean, a lot of places do their things at shopping malls. So
yeah, but we get Las Vegas, bruh.
Yeah,
so I'm really hyped about that. I'm glad we have.
I'm letting people sleep on the floor of the hotel room. So just come on down, guys. You get a plane ticket.
Wait a second. What?
Crash on the floor.
Man, it's going. I'm just really excited just because we're kind of pulling out all the stops that I really hope. I want it to continue. Well, it is. Well, from what I've seen, we already know I am the skeptic of the group. I always try to find, if something was to go wrong, and I'm really finding it very hard these days to be like, well, what about this? And they're like, well, actually they've got about 100 people that have signed up to actually go there and want to see it. I'm like, oh, well, what about this? Well, actually they've got this. And I'm like, well, looks like we've got everything covered then, don't we?
Well, looks like it's just going to go great, isn't it?
All the markers check private.
I mean, we'll see.
That's what I'm getting it is starting to get me really excited about it too, especially because I know that this event will set the tone for the rest of NA. And the person that we send to M4 is going to set the tone for what happens after it as well. Even though we already have plans for after M4 for opening up things in NA, and a lot more people are getting involved. I've told you, I even know somebody from like old games, professional players that are starting to want to get more involved here. It's
NPL?
really we'll see. I don't want to start that again from people where they're like, why don't we have an MPL? I'm like, do you know how much it would cost just to get people over here? How much is the ticket to Jakarta?
This enough.
Don't even say it.
Down payment.
Mortgage payment. What do you mean a down payment? Like,
what I can say is that like this time last year, or after the whole BTK thing, I remember everyone was asking about MPL, and I would always say maybe next year. I was like next year. I was like it's not going to happen this year. I was telling, and everybody was like, well, what do you mean it's not going to happen this year? And I was like, give it time, give it a year. I was like, wait till next year, and look what's happening next. I mean, I'm not saying we're getting MPL next year, but like. The fact is it's slowly building up. It's building up. We know next year there are going to be some longer possible league formatted tournaments. There has not been any exact wording or anything on what it will exactly be, but there are going to be some, possibilities coming. So I definitely think we all just needed to be patient, and it is working out.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
That's just because kids have no grasp on money, honestly. Do we have a discussion like this in our staff about people are like, oh yeah, we can come there, it's only this much to get out there? Like, yeah, what about the motel? What do you mean, what about the motel? Like, what do you mean? Where are you gonna sleep, bro?
I gotta eat? What's that?
Whoa.
Like, some food?
Your food doesn't magically appear on the dinner table when mom calls you?
You spend like $20 on a couple boxes of ramen and you're good, man. Listen, if I really wanted to come, I could definitely make like $100 be my food budget for like even less than that. Probably that's what I would do actually. If I was like 18 and I was like, I want to go, but I can only afford the ticket in the hotel room, I would totally just like buy 2 boxes of ramen once I got there, like the big cases, like the cases of ramen that you get for like $5 and you get like 12 packs, and you'd be good. You'd see me in the crowd. I would munching down.
I would make every effort to make sure I have the most glorious meals in front of you too. Just like just waft the flavor towards you. How's them ramens?
You might you literally may see me doing this exactly like when like because I'm definitely
I'm not gonna let that happen.
I don't have the budget, bro. I don't got the budget for it. So I can. Everyone, we were all talking about going. We're like, oh, Hell's Kitchen. I'm like, you know how expensive that shit's gonna be? You're tripping. Sounds good.
I'll cut my steak in half and give you half.
Yes. You like it rare, right, bro?
You
look like a well done kind of guy.
I'm like, listen,
you look like you asked for A1 sauce on the side and shit.
I don't do that. No, that's a disrespect.
You got some ranch for this steak.
I actually hate ranch.
Oh wait, what? I didn't know ranch was a thing for steaks.
It's not, but I've heard it all, bro.
Mushrooms are though, and I will not have mushrooms on my steak.
Okay, I can deal.
I don't mind. I don't like. I don't. Well, depends as long as they're not flavored with it. I don't know. Good steak. I'll eat anything with a good steak, honestly.
You're a potato. You go with steaks.
Yeah, I want a potato with my steak.
Oh man, it's going to be exciting out there. But closer to home, we've had some excitement of our own. Is this going to be after or before finals? It's going to be before finals.
Yeah, I might try to edit it tonight and go to sleep at 1 a.m.
Yeah, I was about to say, go to sleep at like 2 a.m. But I'm excited. This is going to be the second time the Valley is going to be taking on Ackerman, and I was really impressed with what I saw for them. And I've been watching them in scrims.
Ackerman?
It's not, yeah. Well, because I mean, bro, there's nobody in the world right now who does not really have the Valley side when it comes to all this stuff. Like,
yeah, this is true.
I feel like it's like you're. I was a little skeptical, but I knew that they were going to be dominant. My skepticism is reserved for how they can perform when it comes to the world stage. But like here, like I mean, it hasn't been all wins for them. I've watched a couple of those scrims that they've had, courtesy of G that he's been hosting on his stream. And like they haven't won all their matches, given these aren't like these dominating matches that Ackerman is having. But like, I mean, they've eked out a few wins, so it's not impossible to believe that Ackerman doesn't at least come away with a few wins.
It's possible. I think Ackerman just needs to like when they went up against the Valley first game, their drafts were bad. Their playstyle was great, but their drafts are very sus. And I talked to Z after. I asked him, I was like, yo, what happened? And he was like, I was like, why'd you do this? And he's like, we planned it. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, we planned it. We just didn't execute it right. And I was like, bro, stop. I was like, if I can say one thing, I was like, just don't try to big brain it, man. Just keep it simple. You're going up against a really good team. Like, just keep it simple. And I think that's how they need to approach this coming up to them. Like, keep it simple, stick to the meta. Because, like, the thing about the Valley is, like, I think a lot of teams, when they get to those pressure spots, you really see that pressure start to eke. Or they planned a whole bunch a couple days before. And it's like, and the thing is like, the Valley, like you see, they're all veterans. They're all comfortable. And they don't really make those mistakes in draft. Like, they don't make, like, they just stick to a base plan. And they do it to a T, man. Every single game. Like, from what we've seen from them so far. And I got a feeling it's just going to continue to get better and better. So, like, I don't think you have you don't, especially if you feel like there's a slight skill gap. Like if you know you're coming into this slightly, like just a little lower, even if you're like, if they're 10 and you're a 9, like you definitely can't try anything. Like you can't be like, okay, we're going to give them the Pharaohs because we have a strategy that could possibly give us the win on this. Like if there's even that question in there of possibly, like I think you just got to keep it strictly simple against them. And try to, and then just meet them on the field. Like in the draft, keep it simple, and then meet them on the field and let the skills show out,
Yeah, I feel like that. And I mean, just to kind of go over what you were stating, like just the Valley in general, one of the biggest things that I feel like they excel at in the draft phase is that their ability to counter pick because of how wide their hero pool is I feel like something other teams lack, Like I see that nonstop every time, no matter if they first pick or second pick, like almost every person is either countering someone or they having a strategy to dual counter someone, utilize two heroes to counter one lane versus only relying on the Zach counter for that person, And I feel like that's what they really excel at. And the scrims that I've seen, like they've pulled out some weird stuff. And I feel like that's just their testing phase, their R&D, I could say, the research and development behind like what's good in this current meta, like what they could possibly do. But I can definitely say for one, they just know how to play what they need to play when they need to play it.
Yeah.
Well, I've said before that like I said, I like to focus on Ackerman. I feel like it's cheating to focus on all the pluses from the Valley. I feel like the Ackerman, like they do. I feel like there isn't a huge skill gap, but there is enough of a gap when it comes to micro that we need to focus on the draft, which is kind of hard because, like I said, that the Valley has such a huge pool. They play their man. And I'm already going to start singing praises, and I didn't want to do this, but like they are at a level of where pro teams need to be, which is they know all the characters. It's just how do they apply it? And I feel like that this meta is the biggest thing is the draft. I feel like games are won and lost at this level in the draft. And that's where Ackerman needs to punish them and find something that works. Not find something, actually find some things, plural, because I guarantee one thing I've seen from these types of players is once you beat them with something, all right, they're like, all right, ban the Cho. Easy as that. And then you got to have something else in the revolver to kind of throw at them. And I think that's what Ackerman needs to do, is kind of focus on the draft, focus on what is the real problem during these matches, which is, it's really hard to iron down. My biggest thing to look at is Shark. Honestly, in my opinion, I feel like Shark, if I have to put a finger on one thing right now, Shark is he's a menace on Diggy. He's a menace on anything he plays. Yeah. But there's certain things that there's just no overcoming. I think that if they can kind of formulate around that, it's going to be they might have a little bit do a little bit better. I mean, but they've been improving. It's honestly like honestly all of NA as a whole, especially Ackerman versus Deuce Knights. That was
a good series.
That was a great series.
Epic.
I even went back and watched it, as egotistical as that seems, because I hate watching the matches over again that I'm casting, because it feels like a movie star watching their own movies, being like, hey, yeah, you see what I did there? You see what I said there? Yeah, that was awesome. But I even went back and watched it, and I hate doing that. But because it was such a great series, and this is one of those things that Deuce Knights, watching a team come up from where they were. I'm kind of sad Easy Peasy is going to be on another team for NACT, because I feel like Deuce Knights has some growing that they've been doing, but it was just such a great match, very close, and it's been showing how these teams have been progressing in the squad league and in NA.
Yeah, I think like one of the things we got to point about is like Yureshi in that game in the series against Deuce Knights, the XP laner. So like you saw like Ackerman, I just feel like during that game they kind of during that series against Deuce Knights they even kind of evolved. Like they lost game 1. They come back, they win game 2, and you just see like Yureshi, for example. I remember game 1, he got like beat bad by who was it on Deuce Knights? I'm having a total mind blank right now. But he got kind of beat bad. Hikaru, yeah. Hikaru was a star, man. He got beat bad by Hikaru. And then even game 2, he didn't have like a great game against Hikaru. They still ended up winning, but like Yureshi kind of had a rough time in the XP line. And then game 3, Yureshi just had his number, man. Like he had his number. Hikaru could not do anything to him at all. And like it just continued down that path. So like I feel like, in tomorrow night's games or tonight's games, because you guys will be watching this anyways, when they go up against the Valley, they're like, I feel like we got to watch for Ackerman in the way, I think even if they lose game 1, they need to just keep their cool, and I know there's a potential for them to start like Yuresh, for example, maybe even the gold lane, like all of them, like just kind of be like, all right, like we're going to evolve. Like, all right, I watched I know the way that Chicken does this in the XP lane. This time I'm going to play to the right a little bit, or this time I'm going to play this way a little bit, or pop my skill a little bit later, like things like that, like those small micro mechanics. So hopefully I really want to see, like, I don't know if they could take the whole thing, but I would definitely like to see them take some games for sure.
Another thing that happened that was super interesting to me was Balmond being countered hard, and I think it's kind of like shades of Akai.
Okay.
Yeah, like so hard. Yeah. It was actually. It's almost like as a caster, I get to the point where I'm just like, I know he's a counter for him, but after saying it so often and watching Balmond's walk through Akai's, and maybe it was the skill level of the Akai's I've been seeing, but like seeing a person like Zane on Akai, that last match with the Valley versus Ackerman, where they tried Balmond, and if he could not get an objective to save his life. Yeah. And I don't really feel like, I mean, everybody was riding on Kush. Like, I'm like, bro, what can he do? Like I saw it lined up there. I saw the lethal counter coming down, the little border coming out that shows you it's about to land. Boom, gets hit up by a Kai, then gets spun into the wall, into a coma for a bit while either Hoon or Shark take it. I'm like,
I mean, they find those answers. They definitely found the answers, and And like I feel like that's because it's true. There was like several series in the playoffs where like the Balmond beat the Akai and things like that. And like in my head, I'm like, yeah, the Akai should slaughter that Balmond, should be able to use that heavy spin. Like the Balmond shouldn't be able to get in anywhere. And it was just showed there, like that is definitely how it's supposed to happen. I think a lot of teams just or you have like the DIGGIE on the field from another team who kind of makes the Akai useless and helps the Balmond get through all that, right? But Balmond definitely, I'm wondering how long this Balmond phase is going to last for NA, because it definitely seems like the most prio jungle in NA right now. And it's not really like that overseas. Like you don't see it as like it gets picked, but it is not like the number. It is not like what we see here. Like that is like the end all be all right now.
And it was. I didn't. That is because of seeing. Is because you have it when you have it on mechanically sound people. The Akai, the Julian, all these other heroes that have pop ups. That's why it's not used in C server, because it's looked at as almost a vulnerability for your team. Hindrance, because there's not a lot of mobility for him. If he comes spinning at you, even from an angle, I mean, all it takes is for people to just kind of keep that on cooldown, wait for him to come out, boom, and you've taken out all of his damage from that spin. And they just kind of showed why that is. And I mean, they could probably abuse it, because there's not many people that are on that mechanical and that patience level to be taking it out. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I would love to see something. What was amazing for me about M3 was that when we went over there, we set a little bit of a meta with Shark and his Lolita over there, and some of the off-brand picks that we made work. So I'm really eager to see if we can bring that same thing over there, because right now it does kind of seem with the Balmond, I feel like we're almost kind of like not far, but like maybe like a single step behind like C server meta, just because we don't have that many people that can compete with Balmonds and that have that isolating ability with him.
Yeah. I think that you go, G.
I think that's also like attributed to just how like small of a hero pool a lot of the NA has, and that's one of the biggest hindrances that we have, in North America, is that just like people just don't like getting out of their comfort zone. They just like keep continuously playing like the same hero. But I think to be a good pro player, you in your same lane, like say XP lane, right? You at least need to know 4 to 5 different roles, like different heroes. Like you need to know that. And especially if they're like meta picks. That's another big thing, is knowing what your meta pick is for the region. And I see a lot of teams, just an example, like Team First Blood in the last NACT. A little bit of insight that I got is that all they did, like they weren't like, they didn't have a huge strategy against New Wave or anything like that. They just went in there and they were like, listen, these were the picks in MPL overseas. Like if they seen a strategy that was happening by New Wave, they were just trying to essentially utilize the same picks as overseas. And I see a lot of teams kind of utilizing and trying to do that same thing. They just don't have the capabilities to pull off that teamwork, And I feel like that's just something that people have to keep, scrimming, keep, trying to go after these top tier teams that are scrimming as well. And just kind of showing that you got the passion and the fire to get yourself in there.
Yeah, I think they just need to and also use the scrims to actually practice new things. Now, I don't think we're like behind C meta right now. I think we're I think we're actually at a point where we're like really about on the same page. There's just those few things, like for example, like everyone's using the Akai all over the world right now, but the Balmond is like one of those few picks that are like that NA kind of leans heavy on, right? Like there was a while where I was watching some Indo games and I'm like, y'all really think the tank meta's over? And like there was I remember talking to Mirko and he was saying that like he felt like assassins were coming back and stuff. And I was like, Lance is not in, Damage Karina is not in, it's not gonna happen. Gone. Like Ling's still viable here and there. The Fanny could still be viable here and there, but like it's not happening, you know? And I think that just comes down to region, like, and you're testing new things, but like things like I was saying the Diggie was coming back for a while, and now like we saw Shark on it and just annihilating with it. Like Blacklist was using Diggie, a lot of other teams were using Diggie, and there's like these small picks, but overall I think we are pretty similar. There's just, like I said, there's those small little things, and like 4 or 5 heroes only. I think that's like average. That's like what you should be doing in Mythical Glory rank. I think like these guys should be able to, like 4 and 5 is what, like Esmeralda, Uranus, Dairoth, and Yuzong. Like you should also have those clutch plays, like bringing in the Grok in the offlane, bringing in the Akai in the offlane when you really want to do something crazy, right? Like bringing in a mage into the offlane, bringing in something else. Like, and I think a lot of teams are just kind of like using these scrims that they're having all the time, and they're taking them too seriously, like playing like, oh, we're going up against the Valley, or oh, we're going up against Ackerman, we gotta win. Like when really you should be using those scrims to, like you said, G, like practice something very different. Like you should be like, all right, let's bring in let's use this as our support today. Like let's do it a few times. Like let's really see if we can make it work. Like we need to try some new things, and like if you just play the same way every day, you get like stuck into that, you know?
Mm-hmm. It honestly depends on the level of a team. If they know where their level is at, like there's certain things like for me, if I was going against the Valley or some a good top tier team being at what level I am, like I wouldn't even be bothering with like trying that or something like that. I'd be worried about my rotations.
Micro,
like
yeah.
can we match their rotations? Can we make sure that we are not getting overwhelmed before the 9-minute mark? Like, and that's where a lot of teams like that. Like Akai was bringing up, Aiko was bringing up that a lot of teams try to apply certain things that they see, but they don't have the fundamental structure that makes those comps possible. The Ubi strat with Estus and stuff like that. You saw Team First Blood try it. Didn't really work out too well for them. But like there's certain things, and that's what usually happens with certain players. Like when you try to get better at this game and you're watching tutorials or you're watching, this awesome Tigreal build, and it's like you have to have those background details about why that was successful. And it's going to be interesting. Somebody made a note about it. I don't remember who, about wanting to see that they're afraid that Asia's going to sneak something into us as far as like in Worlds, that there's going to be something in the background that we haven't seen before. Like Diggie, nothing changed for him to become meta. He's just been sitting there.
You know what I think it is? Now that because I was actually thinking about the Diggie today. You know what I think it is? With all of these physical junglers, it's the second skill, man. It's the second skill in the ult. Unlike so many physical junglers nowadays, there's not a lot of ranged junglers. So that second skill, like what we saw from Shark the other night, it's the peel that it applies. It completely makes the Balmond have no chase. It completely makes the XP laner not have to have any chase. You can peel so well for your team, and he just thrives in what, like if your enemy's in a Kai, like in what the current meta is, it didn't need changes. It's just he fits very well, and you see that happen all the time with heroes. Like they never get buffed or revamped or anything, but they just finally find their spot because the meta has changed. And sorry, I like totally interrupted you, but I just I was literally thinking this in my head earlier today. I was just thinking about Diggie. I know that sounds weird, but that's something I was thinking about today.
And that's kind of my point. That's where my point was going to, because it's not just Diggie, the freaking Faramis, and everybody talks about the cult altar, but that Shadow Stampede from him has been a huge deal too, because he drags people back into, because that's been one of the biggest problems, and what has been like these game elongators is two tanky teams vying, getting some damage and then running away, because they're all slow, they're all like very methodical in it, but adding that little bit, that reverse time that Shadow Stampede that pulls people back, that is like, oh, you thought you were going to get away, and then you get yanked back, and now we've actually secured a kill on it. And but more than that, it's just there's these picks that were not that nothing really changed for. It's just somebody noticed, like, oh, hey guys, this actually works. And I think I'm wondering if we're going to see that as we start getting on a little bit more, especially in the challenger tournament, if we're going to see something more I guess different from this side.
Are we gonna think anything spicy? And any heroes that you really want to see just come in?
Zosk.
Never gonna happen. Private?
God dang it! I swear the day that happens, I don't know. I dye my hair.
Maybe gold lane. Maybe gold lane could be possible because of his zoning ability, right? With the sentinels or whatever, you could like zone out a marksman, right? Keep him away. Stalemate. It's like escapability is his problem. Escapability. Yeah,
once he's in, he's in. That used to be it's kind of like how what's his name is though. Phovius is, and we've been seeing him more and more now, which is interesting because I don't really remember seeing him too often overseas. I've watched a few games. I don't see him too often, but once you do see him, there's like an automatic ban when you're trying to pick up a Wan. We've seen teams like completely ignore him, and then wasn't that what Ackerman did?
Edward outplayed a Phovius. Edward on Blacklist outplayed a Phovius the other. I saw a clip of it. He was on Paquito, and he was able to he was so smooth under the tower. Like right before he lands, he dashes, and then a proxy ult again. But he goes up there, and then he like dashes again, and was able to keep like just dodging the Phovius. It's a niche pick. It's I feel like it's never really fallen off, but it's never been full meta except when he first got released. It's a niche pick. It can fit into compositions, but it's also easily to get countered. So it has to be like end of draft. It has to just work that composition, and then it's great. But then like if you blow it, you blow it.
Yeah, and I mean with a lot of upcoming changes that are happening to Beatrix, to Wan, some of these like heavy meta gold lane picks are, I think, it's going to change it up. We actually might not see Phovius ever again. This could just be the small iteration that he had during that time, but there's a huge change to like Wan stacks and like who she can proctor ult on again and stuff like that. I'm not sure if it's going to actually be hitting a real server, but I know it is an advanced server, and that I think could definitely change a lot of the metas. And normally I see it's normally a gold lane war at this point, like who can be the better gold lane, and if you can't be the better gold lane, not feeding, swapping to the XP lane, and just kind of trying to farm back up. So I think they're trying to change the meta just a tad bit. And if the new emblems would have came out,
everything would have been a free for all.
Oh my, dude, I probably wouldn't even know how to cast in Mobile Legends. Like, what are they playing? Like there could just be so many iterations that you just won't even know what to do.
I'm actually
be able to do a lot of stuff.
That's why, like, when the backlash happens, because I was actually really concerned about the emblems. I'm like, bro, these emblems are coming out right during NACT. Like all these teams are going to be reworking everything. I'm actually kind of a little relieved at the long picture for NA, because it's not something that's going to be mixing it up too much, and we're going to have a good grasp on the meta for whoever we send to Worlds. I feel like that's going to be really interesting. It's there is a one little tidbit that I was excited about, that change that I heard is coming, which is classic win rate will no longer be counted in rank.
Oh my God! Thank God! Holy yo!
My Clint runaway is about to skyrocket, yo. My Clint runaway. Do you think that's gonna like null all the past, or do you think it's just gonna be from here forward?
I think so. I think it's good because they already count separately. They have those stats separately. So if they want to cut it out, they can completely cut out the rank or the classic games you've had with it.
I can never ever try a hero. You know, I could never try.
I have Smurfs. You have to have Smurfs. Like I even on stream, I love to play with viewers, but I'm like, let me get on my Smurf because there's no way. Every single time I go into a classic game, if you're like, especially anywhere near Mythic 4, Mythic 3 and above, like it's just nothing but a hailstorm of like these 5-mans, constantly taunting. I'm like, bro, I'm playing with viewers. What do you want me to do? Like these guys, and they're all apologizing. I'm like, bro, I don't know. Don't apologize. I mean, I don't know. I should have played on my Smurf. It's not your fault. Like it's gonna be interesting. I'm really, dude. I am so starstruck with how NA has grown right now. And I keep talking about it, but it's so big, especially with the love. Yeah, it is. Well, no, it's speechless, but still talking. It's
definitely not speechless.
It's just a little bit.
Oh no, and then it's been amazing too, especially with even this podcast, with the amount of people interested in what's going on in NA, the constant comments of everybody who's interested, who's got input about it. Or the little I don't want to say arguments, but like debates that people have. It's been really great, and I'm really hoping it keeps just skyrocketing up for us. Maybe one day I don't think we're gonna get to a place like Philippines, like they've got like Mobile Legends lunch boxes and stuff.
They do. Like the Kit Kat bars have Francos on them and stuff like that. Seriously. Yeah, it's a real thing. Like that's how big it is over there.
It is like a lifestyle. It's like what Apple is here is like what like Mobile Legends is in the Philippines. It's absolutely astonishing. I didn't realize how big it was until somebody was showing me pictures, billboards. There's restaurants themed after it. You know, it's so huge. I know we're not going to get like that, but it would be nice to see it start growing to a point that it is recognizable, that people will know. Like you'll be able to say it in school, and there's going to be somebody who's going to be like, "Oh, Mobile Legends, hey, I know that game." Because I
just want to be able to say it, and my coworkers not be like, "Why don't you play League, bro?" What do you mean it's a mobile game? What is that like?
Mobile.
Mobile.
Yeah. I think
in my grandma voice. How do I put in my password?
But I think like the perfect place for that to get respect for is like through the esports scene, right? Like it's never going to get recognized as like a serious game by Americans until there's like a serious esports scene. That's when people will be like, "Oh wow, like this is actually like." This is a real game. Like this is a serious thing. Like it's not just something people play casually when they're on the toilet, you know, like it's something that, cause that's what most mobile games are. That's how I think most Americans see it. It's like, oh, like I play Clash Royale while I'm sitting on my toilet cause it lasts 30 seconds a game or something, or like this or that. Like, you know, and like Mobile Legends is an actual MOBA, you know, on that you have to commit to and things like that. So I think once it gets to that,
That's why a lot of people I kind of wince at when they talk about other games like Wild Rift and like, oh, this just needs to go away. I'm like, it's actually good. I love the competition, and I love that there's another player that is validating their own scene to make it relevant, regardless of whatever combativeness that these two organizations probably have towards each other with the lawsuits and stuff like that. But it's good because it's validating. It's making it what's the word I'm looking for? It's just making it real that there's competitions happening. You can win money from it. It's actually there's contracted teams and stuff like that. And hopefully, from what I've heard, we're going to start seeing stuff like that from Mobile Legends as well next year, which I'm super excited about because I really want organizations to start getting involved in Mobile Legends. I think that's the last step of like making. Well, not the last step, but it's going to be one of those first big steps of making it a real force in North America is getting
RQNA, little Onic NA, little that
would be crazy.
I think if we got I think like once like next year, if that type of stuff comes, like we will start seeing it. I think next year there's a high chance we see at least like one maybe 2. Like it happened with Brazil, you know, like RQ made a team in Brazil. You'll see like they'll be like, all right, well let's let's invest into, you know, 5 players over there, like, you know, and it doesn't have to be like a full year salary, literally just whatever 3 months that the tournament happens, you know, they give the players a small salary or something, and et cetera, et cetera. I think next year, if we have some sort of league formatted tournament, we see at least one org come over. One like
I don't even know if we needed them to come over as much as we have our own over here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, I think like just invest into a team. Even if we have like a real, like let's say a league org, invest into a team here. I think, especially if that happens, especially if like something like Liquid or something like that, you know, a big org,
Cloud9,
some big NA org, like some big American org does it, then I think we definitely see like a Mobile Legends known org invest into a team over here. I think it happens. I don't know. I could be wrong, but
yeah. Well, it's by the time this comes out, registrations will be closed. There's already over 100 teams. We're already over the limit, so I'm really happy about. Yeah, it's amazing there. And then as far as people going to this event, there's still I think it's still open, the registration for tickets for going, or because Dave was talking about it. So in case you guys are watching and you don't know, he mentioned, and I don't want to cause a ruckus, and I want everybody to start clamoring for it, that they might make it invite only, that there's so many people who want to go. So like, I mean, if you guys are interested, like look into that, because I mean, NASL is going to end right at the cusp of NACT starting. It just keeps rolling in NA here right now. And I'm just, like I said, it's kind of amazing how fast. I was a little frustrated at first that a lot of this stuff got thrown in right in the middle of NASL. Like these poor teams.
We adapted.
Yeah, we adapted. It's just some of these teams have been like in NASL for like 4
every night anyways.
5.
Come on. They rank that was always the thing. They rank every night and do nothing all night anyways. You might as well compete in the NASL.
Yeah.
So no, we're not going to complain about that.
Yeah, it's moving. And it's moving more than I've seen it in any other time right now. And these teams are, everybody's talking about the Valley, but there are some great teams starting up in here that I think, especially in the future, have some great foresight or great future in store for them.
I think we called it that. Guys. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't, click the like button and subscribe button. Blah, 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 blah. Leave us a cool comment.
Check out this shirt.
And,
Chad.
What a Chad. What a fucking Chad right there. Did you guys know G's only 5'7"?
Oh, get out of here. Typical women when I'm 6'8". Just FYI.
Let me sit up in my chair real fast.
I'll put on my big boy shoes for you. No.
G actually sits inside of a really small room to make his room is actually very tiny. He's got like it's a fake, the whole thing behind him is just a cardboard wall that's behind him that's like a nice room painted on it. That's what this green screen is. It's finally showing.
Oh, Jesus.
Everyone's gonna think your room's fake now.